So now we have installed the file sets required for a NIM server. That's nim.master and nim.spot. Now we are going to configure this server as a NIM server. So when you configure this server, there will be certain daemons added to the server and they will start running, and there will be a configuration file that is /etc/niminfo, and certain objects and object classes are added into the ODM. And while you configure the NIM server for the first time, it will create a LPP source and spot in the NIM master server. So you have to insert your CD or DVD of basic operating system. My machine is running on AIX 5.3 TL5. So I have inserted the DVD of AX53 TL5. Now I am going to configure this server as a NIM master server. You have multiple ways to configure a NIM server. You can use a command, you can use a script, you can use Smitty. Here I am using Smitty. That's a Smitty space name. Over here you have to select the first menu item, that is configure the NIM environment, and then the first menu item, configure a basic NIM environment. Here you got to select the primary interface of your NIM master server, that is EN0. If you have multiple interfaces, you select whichever you are going to use for the NIM environment. Then comes the input device for installation images, from where you want to copy the file sets. We are going to copy it from the CD, so I put the CD0 and the LPP source name. Here I have put the AX53 TL5 CD, so I'm just changing the name for the LPP source. That's for easier identification. So next comes the LPP source directory, where you want to create LPP source directory. I want to create it under export LPP source, and if it's just a directory, then the file system will be copied to your root file system. That will fill your file system. So we are going to create a new file system. Here you have the options: create new file system for LPP source, yes, and file system size. For each LPP source you need to have somewhere around 3 GB, and you add some 10% as a buffer space. So let's make it as 3500 MB, that's around 3.5 GB. And where you want to create a file system, if you have a separate volume group like a NIM VG, you can mention that. In my case, I don't have any other VG, so I just put root VG. And here comes the spot, and I'm going to change the name of the spot, and the directory is export spot. Again, do you want to create a new file system? I say yes. And what should be the size? For a spot you need to have at least 500 MB. Okay, the requirement for spot is 500 MB space, plus you add some buffer space. Let's make it as 650 MB. The volume group, again root VG, and this is for diskless and dataless, so you can just ignore these questions. And if you want to create system bundles, boss INST, data resource, by default this will be yes, just leave it as it is. And if you want to add machines to the NIM database, you can mention over here using a definition file. Normally we don't do it, we do it later on. And this is the final question: suppose if this configuration gets failed in between, what will happen? You have to remove whatever the changes has done. But if you say yes, if any part of this operation fails, it will remove all the newly added new NIM definitions and file systems, so it will be easy to start from scratch. You don't have to do any backout manually. The backout will be done automatically. So after answering all the questions, just press enter. Now you can see the NIM master is getting initialized. Basically it will add two subsystems, two demons to the system, NIMD and NIM-ASYS, and then the demons will get started. Then it will check for the available space for the new file systems. If the space is available in the volume group, then it will create the file systems. So first it's creating a export LPP source, and a file system is created, and you can even see it is mounted, and you can see export for file system is created, it is mounted, and now it is oh man, something has happened. Let me fix the issue. Okay, the issue was the CD was already mounted, so I have unmounted it, and let us try it again. Okay, now all the file systems are recreated, and it is preparing to copy the install images. So first of all, it will create the LPP source by copying all the file sets from the CD to the LPP source directory, and then it will create a spot. For creating a spot, the input device is LPP source and not the CD. So if you have a CD, if you have the basic operating system CD, you can create a LPP source, and after creating the LPP source, you can create a spot using that particular LPP source. This is how it goes. And for doing all these things, you need to have at least 512 MB of RAM, and I got only 512 MB, so it'll take pretty long time. And if you got somewhere around 1 or 2 GB, then it will be somewhat faster. So for my system, NIM configuration will take at least 2 hours. So once it gets completed, you will get over here, you will see the OK. Then you can come out and verify the NIM configuration. By this, we have completed NIM master server configuration.